2018 meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? The January 25th meeting? I'll make a motion we approve the January 25th, 2018 Special Call Council meeting minutes. Do I have a second? All in favor? I want to introduce Cool Kids Rubber Gardens. Sure. Hi. Is it on? You might have to pull it towards you. Now, can you all hear me?
No.
Can you hear her?
No.
No. Now is it on?
No.
Okay. You did show me how to do this. I can talk without it.
She was schoolish.
That's okay. I can talk without it. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate George, and I am the leader of the Cool Kids Grow Garden Club. This is a garden club that's been going on at Blue Ridge Elementary School for the past 7 years. And we typically have about 15 third and fourth graders that join us through the year, and we teach them all sorts of different gardening activities and give them all sorts of hands-on experiences that tie in with their school curriculum. The objective of being in our garden club is to become a junior master gardener. And at the end of the year, if these kids come to 80% of the meetings and they take a final exam and they complete some service projects, then they will become junior master gardeners. And they will know a heck of a lot about gardening whenever we get done with them. This is 10 of the kids that are in our group, and one of their service projects, well, currently they're working on the senior center, doing some beautification over there. They are beautifying their school campus, and then they'll do one more service project besides this one. The third project that they've done is they built bluebird houses, and we decided this year to donate them to the city so that there could be a bluebird trail, and we could attract bluebirds to our wonderful town of Blue Ridge. And so the kids, Ron Zadroga cut out the birdhouses for the kids. They hammered them together. They painted them with primer and with outdoor paint. And you see what they have created. I think they're pretty beautiful. But we'd like to donate them to the city. And we hope that you'll enjoy putting them up and that they attract a lot of lovely bluebirds to our wonderful town. Thank you. Well, can I have the kids just introduce themselves real quick, and then we'll head out. And where would you like us to put these bluebird houses?
We can actually put them in front. Would you actually like for the kids to come in front and get a picture with the council?
Okay.
I thought the newspaper would want that. And we'd love to
Just your sissy, you're not in garden club, baby.
bluebird houses.
Look at the top of sissies.
I bet that was a lot of hard work.
It took us 8 weeks.
Thank you all so much for the donation. We love that. You may have to do 2 rows.
Okay, have y'all
They're going to hang them up and then bring this thing on. Oh, look at you. Hers don't look so good. If he gets nervous in front of people.
Like I do.
Get a picture of that.
Can I take a picture?
Justin?
Yeah.
All right. Thank y'all very much. And I'll come back.
Better tell them sorry. Probably not. Bye, you guys.
Okay. We're going to bring Alicia in. She's our finance director. The next thing on the agenda is the purchasing policy amendment and resolution. In case there's any questions or anything that Alicia wants to go over, I know the council received an email probably about a week ago from Alicia going through the purchasing policy, and Harold and I met with all the department heads, and they had some recommendations and brought those back. That microphone is not working, so you're welcome to have a council seat with a good microphone. So are there any particular things that y'all would like to go over? Were you comfortable with it, or was there anything you wanted to point out? Or
you may just want to so we have transparency with the audience, that way they know what's changing. So it's kind of just go over some of the basic changes.
That may be your first revision.
So the main thing that's changing is just the different thresholds for when we do a check request versus a purchase order versus bid. So this one is simplified. It's changing the main threshold that's changing is from 500 to 2,500 can be approved by a department supervisor, and then from 2,500 up to 100,000, which is the state law, would require a department supervisor and, up to 5,000. 2,500 to 5,000 would require a department supervisor and one elected official to sign off on a purchase order. Above 5,000 to 100,000 would require to be approved by the council, and then above 100,000 would require the bid process as required by state law. There's various other changes throughout it. I don't know how. Does anyone have any specific questions about the other changes? Are just about some procedures as far as all the necessary information and bids should be attached to the purchase order. It'll be the responsibility of the department supervisor that's obtaining the approvals to get all of that information and to obtain the council approval.
Why are they being raised that much?
It was at the request of the new council that they felt like the department supervisors should have more responsibility and more freedom with it to work within their budget and purchase the things they need without having to use multiple people.
Want me to give an example? An example, we had an issue where we had a fire hydrant that was damaged, and Becky couldn't even order a fire hydrant without getting 3 council members to approve, the department head, and all those things. And when a fire hydrant's leaking, you really need to get it replaced, or you're going to have a lot of water on the ground. So it's enough to be able to take care of emergency purchases like that.
And $100,000 without the bid process? Did I hear that correctly?
That's the state.
That's the state law.
State law.
State law.
That's the
State
state
law requires bids, the public bid process at 100,000.
I know, but the law doesn't require that it's up to. I mean, you could make that lower for bid processing, correct?
If we chose to.
Okay, I just want to make that clear. Wow.
Any other questions?
These are just purchases within the departments themselves, is that correct? It's not, they can't make decisions outside their own department? And outside their, and outside
Water
their
department
budget?
can't purchase something for street department can't purchase for parks, they all stay within that department. Wouldn't really be fair for the water department to purchase
No,
for
but-
street department, they don't interchange that much.
Will it be within their budget? In other words, if they're budgeted so much money per year, they still have to stay within that budget, is that correct?
That's correct, and if you want to explain the difference in the line item budget.
The budget is approved by the council at department level. So at department level, the department supervisors are responsible for staying within the total dollar amount for their department. If money is moved in the budget between departments, it would require council approval.
Okay, thank you.
Is that $100,000, is that an open-ended, or is that not public works, things that have to do with state money or grants or anything? Is that open-ended, 100,000? You sure that's a state policy, open-ended? Just asking.
Public Works falls under a different public works contracts for road maintenance have some different rules than just the 100.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that is clarified in here that road maintenance falls under the guidelines.
Any other questions?
Is this still a public hearing? Or it's just first? So you can just buy anything up to $100,000 without bidding it out? I mean, I'm sorry, I want to be clear. Up to $100,000 the council could vote without any bids on anything you want to buy?
They would have to have at least 2 bids. It just wouldn't have to go through the public process.
Okay, all right, okay, that's great.
Yeah, this still requires bids.
Okay.
It's just not requiring the public bid process of advertising for 4 weeks,
All right.
opening bids at a public hearing.
I apologize, I should have listened the first time, I apologize, okay.
Okay, anything else?
Are there a reimbursement of meal kit expenses and $40, raising it to $40 from $30?
For the day.
Is that necessary?
We actually had a couple of the,
That was requested by the department supervisors when we met with them to change that from 30 to
because they
40.
said they have a hard time being able, if they're in class all day and they have to buy breakfast, lunch, and supper, that they can't hardly buy breakfast for less than, what was it? $10, I think it was, but 10, 15, and
Where are
50.
they eating?
Yeah, some do, some don't, but I guess if they're kind of in an area where they can't go somewhere else to eat, I think that was all, I think that was just $10 change.
Yeah.
$10.
Microphones.
$5 for breakfast, $10 for lunch, $15 for dinner.
Could y'all please use the mic better, get it right up your mouth better?
We were doing $5 for breakfast, $10 for lunch, $15 for dinner. When we met with the department heads, they requested that it be 10 for lunch, or 10 for breakfast, 15 for lunch, 15 for dinner.
You can change that.
Yeah, I mean, I can change whatever you want.
And let me go ahead and say, one of the other things that I did ask to be put in here, and it was because of some safety issues. In their uniform purchases, we allow $200 a year for their pants and things like that. But I'm going to say this right, steel-toed boots are pretty much required in certain safety issues, and we don't help pay for those. So I've asked that we add that to the budget to help reimburse or give them partial expense for that. If we discovered that after the Highway 515 incident, we had a couple of them discussed they needed steel-toed boots. So that was a request by me. Anything else? Okay, so are you ready for me to read the resolution? Anybody have anything else?
I just really don't see that we need to raise it from 30 to 40. I mean, if you're driving down to a meeting, you can stop on the way and you can get something for, you don't have to go in and have a sit-down breakfast. In my opinion.
We can't hear you.
I said you don't have to go in and have a sit-down breakfast and pay $15 for breakfast, because if you're at home, you're not going to do that. I can't see on the road why going to a meeting, why does it have to be done? I just, personally, I just don't think it's necessary to practice.
I agree.
I mean, we can strike 40 out and put 30 in if everybody's in agreement to do that. Are y'all okay with that? Are you okay with that, Harold? I'm assuming we can strike that out and do that. I'm saying that I'm sure James Valley is watching and will tell me whether we can do that or not later.
How do you use that
I'm sorry?
money? How do you use that money?
Just for training, when they go to training. Okay. A resolution of the City of Blue Ridge issued pursuant to its charter and other laws. Resolution number BR 2018-01. A resolution by the City Council for the City of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to update and adopt a formal policy by resolution to establish financial policies, and to amend purchasing practices and procedures to provide for changing certain thresholds, requiring signatures to increase the employee meal allowance to $30. Well, that's not a change, to $30 per day, and to increase the annual allowance for certain employees to purchase boots, uniforms, to update binding, bidding processes and limits to the same as those required by the state laws of Georgia applying to municipalities, to promote open government and transparency in financial and purchasing policies, and for other purposes. Whereas the city previously adopted by vote a set of financial policies but did not adopt said policies by resolution. And whereas the city has the authority under the city charter and the general laws of the state of Georgia to enact certain financial policies as it determines to be in the best interest of the citizens of Blue Ridge and the city of Blue Ridge. And whereas adopting such policies allows for transparency in government such that citizens may know the guidelines and rules for utilizing their tax monies. Now, therefore, let it be resolved and adopted. The financial policies of the City of Blue Ridge, Georgia are those attached hereto and shall apply as set forth therein. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion that we accept the first reading and adoption of the resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Cable and video franchise fee resolution, first reading and adoption. Resolution number BR 2018-02, a resolution by the City Council for the City of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to authorize the mayor to establish a franchise fee applicable to holders of cable and video franchises issued by the state of Georgia and for other purposes. Whereas the city currently collects a franchise fee from any current cable or video providers, and whereas the city considers collecting a franchise fee from a cable or video provider utilizing the public rights of way as compensation to the public, the use of the rights of way and means of promoting the public health, safety, welfare, and economic development of the city, and to protect public works infrastructure. And whereas the City of Blue Ridge is authorized to collect a franchise fee of 5%, the maximum amount established by federal and state law, of each cable or video provider's gross revenues received from the provision of cable or video service generated within the city. The Mayor and Council of the City of Blue Ridge hereby restate by resolution that the city requires a franchise fee of 5% of any cable and video state franchise holders' gross revenues received from the previous of cable or video service generated within the corporate boundaries of the City of Blue Ridge, pursuant to the franchise issued by the state of Georgia pursuant to OCGA 36-76-1, known as the Consumer Choice for Television Act of 2007. Do I have a motion to approve first reading and adoption?
Be more transparent about what this is.
We actually get a franchise, you want to go over that fee from?
We get a franchise fee from cable and TV providers within the city limit.
Which is pretty much ETC, right?
Yeah.
It's just involving ETC.
What's that percentage we're sitting now?
5%. It's not changing.
Yeah, it's not changing.
They just didn't have a
And
resolution.
ETC actually has a state franchise that they're paying us under, but we recently, GMA, as one of their services, performed an audit of the franchise fees, and one of the things that he recommended, even though they have a state franchise, that we also needed a local resolution recognizing that we would collect the franchise based on the state franchise, because they could choose to stop paying it if we didn't.
So we just didn't have a resolution, but we was already charged.
Yes.
And we do that with other providers that are in our right of way. with like Tri-State and things like that, and that'll be coming up in another meeting too.
It was just
And that's in your budget, that money's already accounted for in your
This is
budget.
just for the cable and video franchise.
And it pretty much only involves ETC.
Is this something they're already paying though?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It was just a kind of a legality.
The rate didn't change, you know, it's 5% is the maximum, and you could have a 3%, but we had 5% all the way through. Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the first reading?
I'll make a motion, we accept the first reading and adoption of the cable and video franchise fee resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. And the 2016 CDBG conflict of interest disclosure. Okay, public notice. Notice is hereby given pursuant to 24 CFR Part 85, Section 85.36B3 and 24 SFR CFR Part 570.489H of the City of Blue Ridge's intent to request an exception to the general conflict of interest prohibition, which requires public disclosure for I cannot read today, for a conflict defined by 570.4.89H 1 through 3, including but not limited to wherein a person participating in the grant process may have an interest in said grant for media and our business ties. On October 17, 2016, the Georgia Department of Community Affairs awarded the City of Blue Ridge a $500,000 community development block grant to upgrade water and fire protection infrastructure along portions of East 2nd Street, Hill Street, Orchard Boulevard, Orchard Place, State Street, Wilson Street, Ridge Street, and Card Lane. The exception will be requested for the following persons who have family or business ties in the targeted areas. Potential conflicts are as follows. Mayor Whitener is related by marriage to Janice Nicholson, who owns 2 parcels and 3 residential units along Orchard Boulevard. Specifically, Whitener is a 3rd cousin to Janice Nicholson's husband, Danny Nicholson, maternal nephew of Mayor Whitener's father. 1 unit is occupied by Jody Nicholson, son of Janice, and 3rd cousin to Mayor Whitener. 2, Mayor Whitener is 3rd cousin to Brian Nicholson. That can be struck. Brian does not live on that street anymore. So,
Jody doesn't live there.
I'll go ahead and list Brian's just in case something happens. Who owns and resides 1 parcel along Orchard Boulevard. Whitener's father is uncle to Brian Nicholson's father. 3, a potential conflict also exists for Mayor Whitener and Brian Huffman, who is employed by Whitener's private business. 4, Post 1 council member Harold Herndon and his wife owns 2 undeveloped acres along State Street. Post 2 council member Rhonda Thomas Haight is the great niece of Glenda Herndon, who resides in the target area. Post 4 council member Robbie Cornelius and her daughter Carolyn Cornelius reside at 89 Orchard Place. A .04 acre permanent utility easement is required from Carolyn D. Cornelius at this location. This easement was identified approximately 2 years ago prior to Cornelius' election to office and is essential for project completion. In accordance with the Uniform Relocation and Real Property Acquisition Act of 1970, Carolyn D. Cornelius has been notified of her rights as a property owner and agreed to sell at fair market value based on 2017 Fannin County Tax Assessor's records. Post 5 council member Nathan Fitz is Mayor Whitener's maternal nephew. His mother, Linda Fitz Rogers, sister of Mayor Whitener, is also related by marriage to Janice Nicholson. Nathan Fitz is 4th cousins with Jody and Brian Nicholson, and would be 3rd cousins with Danny Nicholson. So that was not in there, but I just added it so to make it clear. Okay, any questions about that? So you're the only person that's not related to somebody there.
Putting Facebook hot me into it.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Okay. And I'm related to everybody, so. So we don't need, do we need to vote on that? I just needed to read that. Any questions from anyone? Anybody that was left off that's related to anybody else out there? It is. The Renee Group contract approval.
skipped one, Donna.
I did?
Yeah, you
Oh, I'm sorry. CDBG bank account, Kelsey, bill was left on the bank account for the CDBG grant that we're about to kick off. February the 15th is the pre-construction meeting. What time is that? That's a trick question.
Yeah. 10 or 11, I think?
At 10 o'clock. The bank account for that has Bill's name, and I need to have a motion to have Kelsey listed on the bank account rather than Bill. So can you do that by motion? Anyone?
I'll make a motion that we remove Bill Sowers from the account and add Kelsey Ledford to the CDBG bank account.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, the Renee Group contract.
Has our attorney had a chance to look over this, Mayor Whitman?
Good question. Has our attorney had a chance to look over this? I don't think he meant to have the flu, or he could have answered that phone call.
I don't know if the email specifically now is for but we can do a motion
Based on,
yeah.
Based on his approval? Okay. I actually think he has looked at this.
I think we did, but I'm not positive. I don't want to say.
I think he has, so, okay, do I have a motion? I'm not reading all of that. I barely made it through the first.
So you're just making a motion
To approve the
this?
contract, for the Renee Group to move forward and to, well, that's on the notice to proceed, I'm sorry. Just to approve the contract. Thanks, Tom.
And then attorney approval.
Was that a motion?
Then attorney approval.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make the motion. I feel like I'm taking over the show. Okay, I make a motion that we accept the contract with the Renee Group based on our attorney James Valley's approval.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
We're not in conflict of interest on.
You are in conflict of interest, but if we do that, Ken is the only person that can vote.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have a choice. Nathan can't vote, you couldn't vote, I couldn't, and I definitely couldn't, because every student started with Mayor Weiner. If you noticed, except yours.
Hopefully, since we've read the conflict, there shouldn't be any issues with that because it is transparent.
Even though it's third, fourth cousins, we're still.
We've disclosed all of our conflict of interest, and then at our next council meeting, we'll have all the paperwork to formally request an exception to the conflict of interest.
Okay. Sounds good.
We've not already formally, we did that in the grant process too, though.
We did, but that was before we had 3 new council members.
That's true. And I think even the old council had conflicts of interest too, so had issues all the way through. Okay, so I have a motion, a second, and all in favor? Okay. Now I need a notice to proceed.
We had a motion, Ken did.
Ken seconded. Yes, Wanda made the motion, Ken seconded. Well, Harold asked a question, so all in favor. Let me go back to that. Sorry. And this is going to be a simple meeting. Okay, the notice to proceed for the CDBG for 2016. Do I have a motion to allow me to sign when completed and approved by signature? So we've got that to be approved by signature.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have to send that to him as well.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow Mayor Whitner to sign the motion notice to proceed, and also to have that reviewed and approved by our attorney, James Valley.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Can you just tell us what CDBG stands for?
Community Development Block Grant.
Okay, we can figure that out.
This is the second one of those that we've received in 8 years. I think they're both of them within $500,000 each. And I think there was 60-something other cities that received grants by them too, in case you want to know all that information. Repairs and upgrades. City Hall roof, we had a storm damage claim from last April. We did receive our check last week or week before. And I guess what I'm needing from the city council is the part of our roof that was damaged is the part that is over the fire truck and that side. And it was $20,165. That's not the check. Do I have a copy of the check in here?
Yeah. It was for
$20,165. So we did receive that check last week or week before, Kelsey? The issue that I have is we've gotten a couple of estimates. I think we've had a couple of people look at it and look at our other roof. We had some damage on this roof also, but we did not get paid for this roof. I'm not through arguing with the insurance company at this point. But that piece has been paid for. Do we want to go ahead and repair that, or are we still thinking that we might end up doing parking and taking that section of the roof off and move forward with parking from the drive-through window out to the street?
Well, I think until we decide, just put it in the general fund, because if we're going to take that down anyway, there's no need to repair that. And we can by law put that in the general fund, correct?
Yeah.
So
it's already been deposited.
Yeah.
But I do not think we need to give up the argument on this roof too, because this roof is, as we know, we've had several leaks, and if you go into any of the other rooms, you'll see some issues. So,
well, even if we have to spend the money for that on this part, you know, once we decide what's going to happen, that.
Okay. With that being said, the shingles are really old too, so we've gotten a couple of quotes. The one price shingles, one price metal, so that will come up at your next meeting. So be thinking about that roof, make a decision on that. And I'm just going to bring that back up because I think we need time to decide how much money you're going to get for this, and I think we need a couple of quotes that are both metal and both shingle. So is everybody okay with that? And besides, it's February and it's raining constantly, so it'll probably March before we could get a contractor in here to do it anyway. We're going to have pretty weather.
That sounds good to me.
Police department. Johnny has many repairs he needs at the police department also. I've asked Alicia to look at the budget and see, and I think she's found like about $10,000. He's got toilets that need to be replaced, he's got water lines that need to be replaced, he's got ceilings that need to be replaced, gutters that have holes bigger than softballs in them. What else is it, Johnny?
Other than that, it's a good bill. Solid as a wall. It's just,
now that the bats are going, it's back on the shelf.
Yeah, now that the bats are going.
It needs some painting, it needs some flooring, we've got some rotten floors in a couple of areas. So we have estimates. He's got a few estimates and some electrical. He had some major electrical little issues, some wires that were found that had not been capped off, I guess, or whatever. So I'm asking, she does have the money. She does have it figured out in his budget where it can come from. So I don't think it's going to take that much. We're thinking it's more like $6,000, $7,000.
I'm very concerned about
anybody that would have holes in their bedroom the size of softballs must be very concerned. Anyway. So does anybody have an objection to allowing up to that amount, just going ahead and approving that? And so if he can bring it under $7,000, that's great, but if it's $7,500, he's got some room. The plumbing's going to be kind of interesting because it looks like it all probably needs to be replaced.
Don't look at me.
That's what we were hoping for then. So I'm asking for an approval for the police department up to $10,000, and Johnny will be extremely careful with that.
I make a motion, we approve up to $10,000 for repairs with the police department.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Thank you.
No more complaining.
Thank you.
Okay, Appalachian Cable Installers. This is the work that they did on Highway 515 last week. They had to bore underneath 515. It was an emergency repair. It was $4,200. We need an approval. I think Ken was there, and there's definitely there was some boring done. I think Bobby might have even been up there to take coffee or something. She saw it too. No, you didn't.
Well, that would be Anna Dorn who delivered coffee to us in the middle of the night. Thank you, Anna.
So do I have a motion to approve Appalachian Cable installers?
I make a motion that we approve the invoice for, is this the total of $4,200?
Yes. Yes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Carter and Sloop, $4,012.50. Engineering services for Orchard Boulevard, some plan revisions that had to be made there. So this is in part of that CDBG grant. This is their task release number 8.
This is the $4,012.50. That's what you're approving in additional services and consultants that they use. The rest of the invoice is included in their contract.
The 12,000?
9,000. Well, out of that $4,012.50 is like additional.
We've already approved the first in that meeting. I don't know which meeting is that. It's been on. So do I have a motion to approve the $4,012.50?
I make a motion to approve the $4,012.50.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Sutton Tire, this is a quote for tires for the police cars. Well, Johnny, we might need to take some of that money back. $4,854.08, which is already figured in the budget under maintenance. It's already under his maintenance piece of his budget.
It's a total of $5,164 for tax.
We should not have tax.
No, it's not tax.
It's weights.
It's the weights, okay.
Yeah, I didn't see that up. That's hard to read to the side. 5,164.98. Do I have a motion to approve? And I will just go ahead and make this statement too. I did ask if we could buy this local, and Tony had contacted some of the local tire stores. I know somebody's going to ask that.
I already did.
You did?
I already contacted local departments and said if they could beat these prices.
They did?
Yeah.
Anybody do that?
No, because it's got the federal government pricing book.
Yeah.
I was like, Clarksville, nah. I'll find it local, but unfortunately they said they got.
I tried. Thanks for trying. And Tony told me that the federal government, or the state. Anyway, that was the best price. So I have a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve invoice for $5,164.98 for Sutton Tire for the police department.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Industrial Chemical, PO 28416. This is an annual PO for chemicals for the water plant. It's $25,000.
Well, we have to have it, so.
You do?
Yeah. So I make a motion we approve for the annual PO for chemicals for the water plant in the amount of $25,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Question. Becky out here for a second?
She looks nervous.
Becky, got a question for you. Annual chemicals that we do, $25,000 thing.
Microphone.
Is that the same price we've been getting over the last, was it started last year? Is this a new amount?
That's what, that he needs pre-approved some water chemicals to treat the water at the water plant, so I think it's decreasing since last year.
He would get it priced each time he orders.
Okay, so
That's-
this,
yeah.
I just want to make sure it's just not a
No.
bland number.
We're not-
we're throwing out.
No, I think
We're
those
not
are
gonna
6-month
get
pricing.
$25,000 worth of chemicals, but if he doesn't get that approved up front, then every month when he needs to order chemicals, he's got to come back to him for me to get chemicals to treat water so that our customers can have what they need.
It just worries me seeing that 0, 0, 0.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we're doing the
So,
right thing.
and he gets quotes, he quotes his chemicals each time that he buys those, and provides multiple quotes for those chemicals.
And I do think that he does that on a 6-month basis. He reshops it. Or they have in the past. Tim did that before. He always every 6 months check his chemical pricing. Okay, so did I have a motion? A second? And then I need all in favor. I'm going to have to keep tabs of where I'm at with these. Okay, HydroCal LLC, calibrations at the water plant, $4,105.
I'll make a motion, we approve invoice 28390 from HydroCal LLC for the yearly calibrations to the water plant for $4,105.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Shade covers, and I believe Kim is in the back. Do you want to come up and talk about the shade covers for the park?
Yeah, we had requested, we've been getting some requests for shade covering at the park and the new park in town, and because it does get pretty hot down there if you've had your kids down there during the summertime especially, it gets very warm, there's no shade. We used to have the tree, of course, but it has termites, and so the tree's no longer there, the bare tree, and this might be a good alternative. We've looked at this in the past. I know when I was on the council my first term, we had looked at doing the same thing because it's so hot down there. But Kim met with the representative from one company, and she's going to give us an idea of what it would cost if we want to proceed with that.
Kim, you may have to borrow Harold's microphone, or you can come borrow mine. I'll let you sit right here to explain it. Yeah, that one's not working. I don't think you can get that working with you, Johnny.
No, ma'am, both.
The company's name is Forecast, and a gentleman came by and gave us an estimate for shade covers for over the playground. And I got some of the materials are. The posts and the columns that will be holding the canopies will be made of steel and aluminum columns. And the canopy material has a Kevlar binding in it, so it's pretty tough. Has UV protected, mildew resistant. All the poles and posts have a lifetime warranty. The canopies have a 10-year limited warranty. The structure and fabric itself is designed to withstand 90-mile-per-hour winds. Well, yet the color of the canopies need to be discussed yet. But we're looking at, if we don't need engineer drawings or anything like that, there'll be a price knocked off of it, and shipping will be knocked off of it because they deliver it themselves. Oh, sorry. But we're looking at an estimate of around $17,000 for the canopies for on both the large playground and the small playground.
Will the canopies cover the area? Will there be some areas still exposed?
Well, a lot of the areas on the larger playground already have roofs over some of the structures, so the sail that they're going to put there will be covering the open area. And on the smaller playground, we'll have a large umbrella type sail on it. It covers quite a bit.
Well, I know Mayor White met with someone today, and they actually talked about that could be a danger of kids getting burned because the equipment gets so hot. And they did say to put up a warning, you know, with that, because you could have kids get burned on that playground equipment. It's just when it's so hot. Yeah. So something to think about.
I actually have a question. Now, will they draw this out?
Yes.
So,
Yes, it's already drawn out. This will be on the 5 to 12-year-old sale there. And then a smaller one has the umbrella.
I think we actually take our kids down there so they can be outside and enjoy being outside. And I mean, I honestly do not feel like I need shade over the entire park. I mean, I've been taking Lily there since she was.
It wouldn't be over there.
It's just over the playground.
It's a
I'll
playground.
think go home.
It's just like a
I
playground.
don't ever remember getting burned at the park.
Well, we have, Tanya, we have had parents complain last summer. There were quite a few. So you're one opinion, and I think there are others probably who would disagree, but it is something to look at.
It's just taxpayer money,
Thank
right?
you.
It's just taxpayer money, right?
One thing that I learned today, excuse me just a second, the one thing I learned from the insurance company today when I was talking with them, it will cause our slides to crack if they get a lot of sun exposure, and those slides are really tight, so instead of those areas, you might be able to take the slide part itself.
And what you may, I wonder if we could look at getting a grant for something like this. There is? Oh, awesome. Okay, next year? Well, maybe we just hold off to next year, and then all of us, everyone, go check it out this summer and see what you really think, and especially the council, and go down there and see. And I intend to do it as well when it's really hot. And what we could do is, at least we have this information, we could look at it and possibly try to get that grant next year. If we can get it and it's practically free, that would be an asset for our
Just only
community.
got one aspect on it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can get several estimates, and they might lay it out here for the other companies too.
I wonder the company we originally bought the equipment from, do they sell the same thing, or do you know? Okay, I'm not sure either. Okay, well, thank you, Kim, for checking in on that. Appreciate it.
Okay, gravel purchase. Rhonda, you got this down?
Yeah, this is just an invoice for gravel. What is the invoice?
3580. There's one for 3580 and one for 1362. Okay, so the total's $4,942.
Okay. Okay, I make the motion we approve the invoice from Lance Trucking for $4,942 for gravel.
Do I have a second? All in favor? And this is just a discussion item, farmer's market. I've had a couple of inquiries about different things. One is, at one point we had mentioned that we might have an interest in selling the farmer's market, and I've had someone that has called me and said, are we looking at selling the farmer's market? If we're not, I do think that we need to put a plan in place as to doing some upgrades out there, which are kind of minor. We went out and looked at those the other day. It needs some more building put up on the outside. You need some drainage lines. Something else Ken could help us out with. We need some lines put out there. You should have never volunteered the first time, Ken. You're going to get hit with it each time. And then we need to come up with a plan. We need a plan in place as to how we're going to utilize the farmer's market, because it is definitely underutilized. I've had several people mention if you go to Blairville on any given weekend, they do, I think they call it Trash and Treasures or something on Friday, or something like that. And then on the weekends, they have brought back a very vibrant market. But I think they do that Thursday and Friday. I think it's kind of a whole weekend thing.
They may have changed it. Pretty much on Friday, and Saturday. And they had, it just be open cover, concrete underneath.
It's really nice.
Real nice. Okay. Place, last time I was up there, had over 100 stalls.
Are they all full?
So,
Are they all full when you go up there?
that night.
Yeah, Mayor Whitener and I, we were down there, we met with Rodney Patterson. Of course, Rodney's been in charge of the fall festival and everything, spring and fall festivals for years. And so he knows that place like the back of his hand. But there are several issues, railing, handicapped accessible. Even though it is handicapped accessible, you can't really get up the ramp because of the gravel. So there are definitely a few things that need to be worked on. And I had someone contact me about having an event there and a concert this spring. So I know we've got several interested parties, people who wanted to revitalize, get it going again.
So I'm not asking for a decision. I'm asking for y'all to do some thinking about it. If we want to do some concerts, if we want to do something else, if we want to put it back on the table, that we might sell it, whatever. If we're going to lease it by the night, by the week, or by the whatever. But I would like some feedback from everyone. We do have expenses there, so we need to figure out how to make those expenses work for us.
That place has got so much potential.
Yes.
Just get the right stuff over. Well, you don't tell me this, Bill and John were doing some entertainment out there first, looking at shows coming on. I think they did pretty well.
Johnny has volunteered to start that back up. I think you said that was a volunteer. You were volunteering to do that?
Volunteering.
He's already served it,
So, he actually mentioned that today.
I'm with Harold. It's such an amazing venue, and I just can't see us selling it. I personally would not vote for that, but I just want to see it turned into something that is used and
So you've got 30 days to come up with some plans.
Oh, great.
And I do think the spring is the time to make it.
Yes.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, we got to look at this in different perspectives. What can we do with the youth there? Maybe we can involve the high school doing some, help down there. There is a lot of ADA compliance issues with railing and stuff. That does have costs added to it. It's a heritage point of Fannin County. I think everybody here has been to that farmer's market. At least one. Nobody owns that except the city of Blue Ridge, in my opinion, and the citizens.
Yeah.
So I say, there are some issues with the ADA compliance that we're going to look at. But, we can invest in the kids because we grew up going to there. I know I did. And I'd like to see the next generation kids going there too.
Me too.
Whatever aspect we can bring back.
Me too.
Under a budget.
I thought it was going to be used for parking.
It is. Actually, they're working on getting parking signs and everything. I'm sure this weekend it'll be utilized pretty much, don't you think, Gene?
Yeah,
So,
for fire announcers.
Yeah, for fire announcer. So, yeah, and I think Tommy met with Gene this week. They're getting signs in place and getting everything ready, so it should be perfect, especially with the parking downtown. So now you have two places to park. So
If there are people parking there, and we really promote that, that's generating traffic. That if you do a farmer's market or something, they've got a captive audience full time. So
right. That's what we're
I think
talking
it
about.
utilizes the parking and the.
Is there a plan for a shuttle service from that parking lot?
There is one now. Mr. Holcomb provides one.
He's doing it free of charge,
Okay.
which is amazing. Thank you.
And the hours are?
Your hours, you can get with him afterwards.
Yeah.
9 a.m. till 6:37, sometimes 8. I guess depending on the weekend, how busy it is, and we're going to rush on the weekend.
Is Caesar here? I know it's. And I apologize, the mic is out. Can you talk loud enough, or do you want my seat? You can.
No, I can talk loud.
You sure?
Yeah. If you can't hear me, tell me, and I'll speak up. The Business Association's 8th annual chili cook-off is coming up this Saturday. Rain or shine, I think we'll probably have a little rain from what I see. But it will be rain or shine. This year we're expanding it by 2 hours. So it starts at 11 and will go till 5. Tasting cards will be sold from 11 to 2:30. This year we have 16 chili vendors, 6 food vendors, 2 beer trucks, and 21 ice sculptures will be around town and downtown park. With a live demo in the downtown park for the ice sculpture. The Owl Creek Band is going to perform all day. And chili cards will be $10. Beer and wine tickets will be $6. And this year, our judges will be, for the chili tasting, David Ralston, Allison Soseby, she's our district attorney, Bob Evans, who's a former celebrity chef, Doug David, who's a developer, and Kay Kendall, who's a manager for food services at Research. So I hope everybody can come out and have a good time, even though it might be a little wet. So that's it. Anybody have any questions on chili cook-off? Everybody gonna come?
I'll be there. Move. I'll be there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, since the attorney can't be here, I'll wait for you to tell.
And I have Kit Miracle. She's not on the agenda, and I have Miss Zimmerman, so I think both of you are here. Kit, you want to come up? Do you need my microphone? Are you sure?
Yeah. I wanted to say thank you to so many people. If you don't know, there was an accident on Trackside. 1 car. It was, well, it should have been 2, but I avoided somebody, and unfortunately, I got to the side where it looked like there was road, and my tires, both sides of my tires were on us, and it collapsed. That side of the road collapsed. The other side, my other 2 tires were up. They were kind of angled. If I had gone a little bit further, I would have been off and rolled over the hill from Trackside. What had happened was I had a car coming at highest rate of speed right at me, and we were both large cars. And he didn't move over, and I had to move over a little and move to the edge where I saw road. And obviously it disintegrated. So everybody came out. Donna was there. All police officers, everybody was there. The county, the city, state, I think, also was there. The state patrol were there. All of them were out there. All of them telling me not to go in front of my car to see it. And then Donna came out and was angry because she goes, well, there were supposed to be cones here, and there was, all this stuff was supposed to be done and fixed and everything else. We did find the cone that had been laying down in the road underneath my car. It had been there for a while, so it was not even up on the road. So since then, I know you've got it fixed.
The council approved to actually widen that road, so we're very thankful for that. And that they widened it about 4 feet, I guess, 3 or 4 feet. But I think what had happened is the ice and snow had actually moved the cones off the road and slid it down off the embankment. So,
well, that night they did everybody got the cones out there so that anybody else traveling that night were safe, as well as the product got repaired.
It had just washed out from under the asphalt, and the asphalt just caved in.
Right, because you can see where the asphalt was, where I was, and then because of the tire, I had a van, and it just kind of collapsed over the rear of it. So we had no trouble. But I wanted to say, again, thank you for everybody that turned out. Thank you for everybody that was concerned. I got everything out of the car and everything that was important out of the car at the time because we weren't sure how long it was going to stay up on the road. So I'm glad it's fixed and nobody else will get hurt.
It could have been a bad situation.
Yes. And I appreciate all the help. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and that was approved in a special call meeting, and they've already widened the road, but I don't think they had fixed enough weather to pave that much, because that should help.
It looks much better. I'll make them indicate to that.
And we've been held up by Ms. Zimmerman, do you want my microphone? You're soft spoken.
Okay, I'm Nancy Zimmerman, and my husband Chuck and I live down on East Main, just down the street from Rhonda, and so we back up to the railroad tracks. And I just want to, we've had conversations about this with Donna and Rhonda, and I don't know how it's going to work out, but I just want to make the whole council aware of what the situation is. Under the previous owner, the workers from the railroad would go down the track several times during the growing season and spray the vegetation to maintain the tracks, kind of keep them passable and everything. And in the winter, they take the engines down somewhere to the south and work on them, I guess, and then bring them back. So the last 2 years under the current owner, no regular maintenance has been done on those tracks south of McKinney Street. So there's 6 houses, and then there's Davenport Woodyard in that stretch, and then you get to Boardtown Road. So if it was just little trees and plants that stay put and everything, that'd be fine. But the issue is that most of what grows along there is kudzu, and you know what kudzu does. And so Chuck has been mowing, maintaining the strip that's between us and the tracks the whole time we've lived there, which has worked out okay. But it's gotten harder now that they're not spraying the kudzu because it grows pretty fast, and so it's just, it's become kind of an issue for us. And the kudzu is also starting to take over some trees that are along the tracks at various places, and I think that's just a terrible thing to happen anywhere. And so we're just asking the city if they will work with the railroad to come up with a plan of how that stretch of tracks is going to be maintained. What they do is in January, they go down there. They had a machine down there a couple of weeks ago, and about 4 workers, I think, big machine, and they cut and pull away just enough for the engines to be able to get down there. And then they bring them back, and then that's all they do until next January. So it seems to me that eventually they're going to have track damage, and it's going to cost them more than it would have if they'd just gone on and taken care of it. But that's their problem. But the fact that the kudzu is kind of encroaching on everybody and making it harder for us to keep it away from us is kind of an issue. So I'm just, we're wishing that they could come up with a plan or some way that it's going to be done on a regular basis.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. Okay, we need an executive session.
I'll make a motion we enter into executive session to discuss personnel.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Hey, Mayor, they weren't on the agenda, correct? And I know you just went into executive session. Could I make one comment? They weren't on the agenda. Could I make a comment?
I was supposed to have been on the agenda.
But you weren't. All right, if I can, I'm okay. But I just...
Yeah, we're heading back there. Hurry.
You know, in the last administration, you had workshops. And the workshops ended up turning into action items, which I oppose action items at a workshop because the citizens are not aware you're going to vote on something. I'm wondering if you could go back to workshops, because this is the second regular meeting and one special called meeting and you're doing a lot of first readers, and I'm really not understanding where the council is having these discussions. Like, I know you're not having them in executive session. You know well enough not to go in executive session and discuss the purchasing policy. But tonight, I'm just asking, maybe think out workshops. Because I'm not for sure where the citizens are getting the information beforehand that's going to be on the agenda that you're coming here and voting on. I'm a little confused by that. So I think, I'm just asking, would you go back maybe to workshops? Because tonight I heard you go from 500 to 2,500 for a department head. Well, that's okay. And then you said if a department head finds any council member, somebody is not even aware of water or whatever may need, it could go to 5,000 and then on, which is okay. But then you said, well, we can't even buy something like this without an emergency meeting. The state has provisions for emergency meeting. That's actually a special called emergency meeting. So you guys actually can meet. You can meet at the water meter. You can call it, say it's emergency. I'm just asking, maybe you can go back to workshops, because I'm just confused on how the citizens are getting the information.
Well, I can tell you, as far as the financial policy meeting, we actually had a meeting. Harold handles the committee for the financial policy. That's what he did in the last 4 years. So he and I and all the department heads met. So that was just an open meeting in the conference room. We had some discussion. We said that.
Yeah, but the citizens don't know this till they get here. That's all I'm saying, Mayor. That's all I'm saying.
Was it publicly noticed?
It didn't need to be. It was a committee meeting.
Right, and you made a major first reading on a purchasing policy tonight. I was saying, could you go back to workshops? Because I just have a little concern on the transparency that the citizens are showing up and getting an agenda.
You will notice too tonight we have taken interaction from the audience. Our previous council did not do that, and we want people to be involved. So yeah, if you have a question, please ask when you're in here, because we're glad to answer it. And I think you all have seen that tonight.
And I think our
we are 100% transparent, and we are allowed by law to communicate with each other via email. We can call each other. I usually talk to Ken. I talk to Robbie, Harold, all these folks. We talk all the time, but we're not breaking the sunshine law because we don't know.
I didn't say you didn't. I'm not making an accusation. I'm just wondering where the citizens come in. That's all I'm wondering. And
right
maybe come on now, Councilwoman asked the questions, but it's on the agenda to read out. So it's really like,
but we are willing to take anything off.
All I asked is if you could look at workshops. That's it. I promise. That's all I was asking.
We'll consider it.
Look at workshops again.
We'll consider it.
Okay.
And our finance director had worked through the finance policy, so a lot of those were her recommendations, just to make things easier for the department heads to be able to make their purchases, because we hold our department heads up and we keep from being effective sometimes because they can't purchase things that they need to be able to do the job.
That's understandable.
And you know, it's a business just like anything else. They've got to be able to operate.
You went to $100,000 with 2 bids that do not have to be taken publicly, period. That's my understanding tonight. Okay? So you can make a $100,000 decision on 2 internal bids that these people here tonight may not know about until you vote. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I just like to see workshops. You voted to go into executive session, I apologize. All right?
Let's do that again, because I'm not sure that we're going to.
Let's make sure
we need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion we go into executive session to discuss personnel.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make a motion we come out of executive session.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? And we want all that, okay? I'd like to, we want this individually done, obviously. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint William Long as water distribution supervisor. Do I have, at the rate of $17.50 an hour.
For a 6-month probation.
With a 6-month, I think that's standard. With a 6-month probation period.
I'll make the recommendation, we follow Mayor Whitener's recommendation.
Do I have
the motion?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. And then I would like to appoint as water loss and mapping supervisor Shannon Payne at $22.54 an hour.
I'll make the motion.
For a 6-month probation period.
I'll make the motion, we accept Mayor Whitener's motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? That's the only two that need to be appointed.
As far as in the police department, I make the motion, we hire Samuel Rosellas at $15 starting salary. He will start full-time in 2 weeks.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, let me ask, with a 6-month probation, does that need to be added to his? Okay. Okay. Making sure. Just
I make the recommendation, we hire Tony Galloway in water distribution starting at $12.50 an hour.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Okay. I make a motion, we hire Jeff Stewart as zoning, land development, and project management starting at a rate of $15 an hour with a 6-month probation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Rosie, were you in favor?
All right. Okay. For sewer, I make the recommendation that we give James Weaver a raise at $23 an hour. He's a
$23.
Yeah, $220. He will go up to $23 an hour.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That will take effect.
Yeah, and that will take effect next pay period as part of the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'll make the motion that we give Nathan Sowers from the sewer plant a raise. He will be making $19.50 an hour, and that will start next pay period.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I make a motion that we give Chad Clemens a raise of 25 cents an hour.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay.
Make a motion, we give Jim Robinson of the Water Department a 50-cent an hour raise starting next pay period.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
With Chad Clemens, let me go back to him. I'll make a motion that starts next pay period as well.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay. I make the motion that we give Steve Mull a 25-cent an hour raise starting next pay period.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion that we give John Watkins a 25-cent an hour raise starting next pay period.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
What have I missed here?
Tony Bird?
Tony Bird, yes. I make a motion that we move, that we give Tony Bird a pay increase to $17 an hour, where he will be acting as chief mechanic and as street supervisor.
Do I have a second?
Starting next pay period.
6-month probationary.
The 6-month probationary period for his street supervisor position.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Glenda Herman?
And yeah, I'm going to abstain on that one. I will be abstaining on the next because of relations.
I make a motion that we hire Glenda Hernan in the office part-time at $10 an hour.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? And I will go ahead and note that Harold is not related to Glenda Herman, just in case that does come up because of the last names.
Yeah, we have one more actually. Okay. Denny Cook is at the end of his probation period, so I'm going to make a motion that we increase his pay to $17.08 an hour.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Michael Buchanan will be coming off of probation this month, and it would be a 50-cent standard rate increase. So we need to go ahead and approve that also, and come off of probation. Michael Buchanan.
I'll make a motion that Michael Buchanan come off probation and have a standard 50-cent pay raise.
Do I have a second?
No second.
All in favor? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
I'm
sorry. Take that motion back.
Okay. We need to approve the new entry pay, which is a new pay scale, but the entry pay is $12.50 an hour. So we'll need a motion to do that. Oh, the entire page? You want me to read it all out? Okay, let me just go through all of them. Water plant supervisor, $19 an hour. This is the proposed entry pay. Water treatment plant class 1, $16.50. Water treatment plant class 2, $15.25. Water treatment plant class 3 is $14 an hour. Water loss and mapping supervisor would be $16.25 an hour. Water crew leader would be $15 an hour. Equipment operator would be $14 an hour. Maintenance worker, $12.50 an hour. Meter technician, $12.50 an hour. Meter customer service manager, $12.50 an hour. Utilities director, $19 an hour. These are entry level, and most of those are already filled by somebody that's had some tenure here, been here for a while. So I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion we approve the water department proposed entry pay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Now do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?